Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. So today I wanted to talk about Pluto moving through the sign of Capricorn from 2008 to 2024. And I understand we are on the back end of this transit, but it's such a critical transit to talk about. So Pluto will take its first quick dive into Aquarius March 23rd to June 11th of 2023. Then he will retrograde back into Capricorn before moving into Aquarius November 2024 until March of 2043. So Pluto takes approximately 12 to 20 plus years to move through each sign. Its orbit is very, very erratic, so it's difficult to pinpoint. So I'll give you some examples here starting in 1983. That's when Pluto spent 11 to 12 years in the sign of Scorpio. And then starting in 1995, he spent 12, 13 years in Sagittarius. And then of course in 2008, he plunged into Capricorn, which he will stay there for 15, 16 years. And then once he moves into Aquarius, he'll be in Aquarius for 19 to 20 years. So you can see what I'm talking about. It's very difficult to pinpoint a very outer planet's stay in every single sign. So Pluto transits are the most extended transformative transits we can experience personally and as a collective. It's definitely a generational planet, very similar to Uranus and Neptune. But Pluto defines the generation. So for example, the traditionalists or the silent generation. Now these years are going to be approximate because when I was doing my research, some of the years were all over the map. So I did my best to put them together as carefully as possible. So the traditionalists or the silent generation born 1925 to 1945, Pluto was in Cancer. And then the baby boomers born 1946 to 1964 approximately, Pluto was mainly in Leo, and then he did move into Virgo 1956. And then Generation X born 1965 to 1976, Pluto was mainly in Virgo, but then Pluto moved into Libra in 1971. And then the millennials or the Generation Y born 1977 to 1995, Pluto was in Libra and in Scorpio during these years. And then Generation Z or the Centennials born, again, approximately 1996 to 2012. Pluto was mainly in Sagittarius, but then Pluto did move into Capricorn in 2008. So Pluto takes approximately 248 years to go around the entire zodiac. So of course, we will not experience his full cycle in our lifetimes. However, if you're a country, you can experience a full Pluto cycle. So for example, the United States is experiencing its first Pluto return, and I believe that started in February of 2022. So very, very interesting and exciting to see how that is going to play out in that country, and then how that's going to ripple across the world, basically. So when outer planets shift into new signs, they foreshadow new generational shifts and incoming collective energies. Now, very, very important to note, starting in 2023 into 2026, I think will be pivotal, critical points in our lives personally and as a collective. Because Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto will all be shifting into new territory, new elements, and new signs during these years. So for example, Saturn will move into watery Pisces starting in 2023. Uranus will move into the air sign of Gemini 2025-2026. Neptune will move into fiery Aries 2025-2026. And then, of course, Pluto will move into the fixed air sign of Aquarius 2023-2024. So I feel like this is the best time to be on the planet right now. Such exciting, incredible, interesting times ahead of us for sure. So Pluto works obviously in different ways, just like all the other planets, you know, conjunctions, sextiles, squares, trines to personal planets and points in your personal chart. Now, these transits could last a year to several years because Pluto moves about 1 degree per year. Again, it depends on his orbit that particular year. But just looking at transiting Pluto to your natal Pluto is what I want to focus on in this video today. You can expect to experience approximately 4 major aspects in your lifetime, and there is usually a life-changing event that occurs. So you don't necessarily need your chart to figure this out, but some of the age brackets I'm going to talk about are quite large, again, due to Pluto's irregular orbit. So starting at around age 25, you experience the Pluto sextile. Now, this is an opportunity aspect. So if you are willing to put in the work, it's an opportunity aspect. Now, if not, you might go through a bit of a murky depression, denial type of stage. Now, this could go on at least a couple years until Saturn comes along and kicks you in the ass, because that's the start of the first Saturn return, which is going to start around age 26 to 27 years old approximately. Now, if you are willing to put in the work and go after an opportunity, you'll be in a better position to feel in control of your life moving forward. And that's until the Pluto square, which we'll talk about next. Usually during this aspect, lessons surrounding boundaries might occur. Usually this will include not putting up with poor treatment or difficult treatment. And of course, everyone is going to experience this transit differently. Some people will experience it internally, and some people will experience it based on external circumstances. And then around age 35 to 45, you experience the Pluto square. Now, this aspect is going to make you move, or that's what it's going to pressure you or encourage you to do. This is a midlife transit. There could be a crisis or a devastating external event, such as a serious illness of some sort, a loss of a relationship, a loss of a marriage, a child leaving the nest, you know, and you're suddenly alone for the first time in many years, or maybe, you know, all the kids leave the nest and then you have to get to know your partner all over again. So things like that could occur during these years. For some people, this transit could feel like a dark, murky cloud has permanently parked in your living area or over you in some way, or in you, like within your being, within your bones in some way. And it just zaps your vitality. It could be, or it could play out like you are looking at life in black and gray and not so much in color anymore. Depression could be a factor for multiple years. You could be looking at the past with a gremlin on your shoulder telling you, you know, why you didn't achieve more. Why didn't you achieve your hopes, your wishes, your dreams? You know, telling you you're a fool to think that you're actually capable of such things. You know, and this gremlin could be filling your head full of crap. So just be aware of that. Now, some people experience this transit as, you know, similar to a midlife crisis and do just off the wall, batshit crazy things, you know, because they want to feel alive again. They want to feel young again, and they're testing their mortality. So that could be one way of this playing out in your life. Now, obviously, with all transits, this too shall pass. And again, this is going to play out differently for everybody. But regardless of the experience, you'll never, ever forget what happened during this transit for sure. And all of us will grow much, much, much stronger thanks to this transit. This is a fantastic time to work with a counselor or a therapist if need be. And keep in mind, this could be an intense test for your mental health and well-being. So just be aware of that. Just be mindful of that. Now, in your early 50s, you experience the Pluto trine. So this is definitely more of a supportive aspect. So you should be in a good spot in your life by this age bracket, usually, you know, from a career standpoint, from a relationship standpoint. The relationships you have in work and love should be more true to you and are supportive and authentic. You can actually make very great strides during this transit in business or contributions to humanity in some way. You could be recognized in some way publicly, and you feel appreciated and respected. Now, on the other hand, if you've managed to roll through that Pluto square by continuing to be stubborn, living your life in a dull, dark, depressive, erratic state, or just maybe you were just heavily medicated, which is, you know, a possibility. This transit might bring you to your knees in some way or give you a very interesting reality check. You might be haunted, so to speak, by the memories of what could have been the last, say, 10 years of your life if you're in your 50s. You know, you could be thinking about what you could have accomplished, the life you could have led if you just took that opportunity, you know, or if you just made that move on something. Now, if you are in this situation, I would recommend just to surrender. Let yourself be transformed. Let change happen. Your life is not over at this point. You can live your life more authentically and be honest with yourself about where you are here and now and where you want to go. And you can definitely turn your life around at this transit. Life is not over. Now, depending on Pluto's orbit, again, some of us won't experience a Pluto opposition. However, if you are fortunate enough to experience the Pluto opposition, it might happen mid-80s is when this usually happens. Now, at this point in your life, you have absolutely nothing to hide, right? You have all your cards on the table. What you see is what you get. You're authentically you, and that is how you are living your life. There is no fakeness about you. Some people, obviously, at this stage in their life, they won't even experience a fear of death. They may have the attitude of, you know what, I can take on anything life throws at me at this point. Bring on death. You know, that might be their attitude. So this is a fantastic time, obviously, to live out the rest of your life, doing what you love. Don't care. Who cares what other people say, think, or do? Just do what makes you happy and live out the rest of your years doing what you love to do, what you want to do. So some history on Pluto. Pluto was discovered in 1930, and it is the modern ruler of the 8th house in our charts, which is the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is a fixed water sign, very intense, very focused, very investigative sign. It also rules power, sex, death, and transformation. Mars also co-rules this sign as well. And I'm sure most of you know or have heard possibly that Pluto was actually demoted in August of 2006 to a dwarf planet. And I do find it interesting. That's when Pluto was transiting the last degrees of Sagittarius. So I do find that interesting that that's when Pluto was demoted under Sagittarius, the sign of higher education. I find that really interesting. But my 2 cents on this, I guess these people never experienced a Pluto transit. He is a heavy hitter, power player in the skies. And he will always, always, always be a planet to me. Again, if you've experienced a Pluto conjunction to any of your personal planets, you know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. It is transformative. It's not scary. I don't want anyone to fear it. It's just, anyway, I just find it fascinating that they demoted Pluto. My opinion, you do not demote the Lord of the underworld. You do not demote Hades, okay? Like, but again, that's just my 2 cents, because I've experienced some pretty intense Pluto transits myself. So Pluto is a very fascinating planet to work with, especially when he makes aspects to those personal planets, so, or points in your chart. So where we have Pluto in our charts is where we experience empowerment, where we want to control, break down, regenerate, and where we are reborn. Now, each generation will face their own challenges. They will be guiding the world through massive changes of cultural, technology, society, and political trends. And I also hope climate change as well, because we need to save Mother Earth like big time, because without her, we're not going to be here much longer anyway. Now, Pluto transits can be difficult to say the least. And yes, sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes it's an extended period of depression. Again, everybody experiences these transits different depending on how they're aspected in your chart and depending on where Pluto is moving in your chart. However, there's times where Pluto aspects can be ultimate success. So like I said before, do not fear Pluto's transits. Ask yourself, what does Pluto want from me? In short, he wants raw, authentic honesty from you. These transits reveal what we're made of, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the dark. These transits give us no choice than to be greater, to be stronger, to be braver and more authentic than we ever thought possible, because Pluto knows us better and he will not accept anything less than this. Pluto knows exactly what we're capable of. And keep in mind, all of these planets don't work against us, they work for us. Yes, it can be challenging. I get it. I'm a human too, living on this planet. Yes, I've had some very intense, challenging aspects, and I know you have too, but they are working for us. Sometimes things have to happen for us to see or learn the lessons that our souls originally signed us up for. Now, astrologer Caroline Casey describes Pluto transits as having 3 phases. The first is a total disruption of your life, total disruption of your world. The second is not knowing, stepping into the darkness, stepping into the unknown. And the third is the emergence of the authentic self. I absolutely love this. I absolutely love this example. It's such a beautiful example of Pluto transits. Now, with Pluto transiting Capricorn, which represents the 10th house of our charts, so it represents government, big corporate businesses, our careers, our public standing, our reputation, our long-term goals. This powerful transit asks us to acknowledge our personal responsibility. Our duty does not lie in restoring outdated corporate structures or continuing to support the patriarchy. We must move away from these old, outdated systems in order to evolve personally and as a collective. We are no longer going to support these systems that do not bring us happiness, that do not bring us hope and liberation. It's great that we have come this far. However, I feel like the work is just getting started. I think we will see this really take off once Pluto moves into the humanitarian sign of Aquarius. I think the power will lie with the people, not so much the government or big corporations or big CEO hands, so to speak. Now, I just want to warn people here, I don't mean to trigger anybody here. I'm going to talk about a short thing about the Ukrainian thing that's happening. So I don't mean to trigger anyone. So fast forward, a couple minutes if you don't want to hear this. But I just want to bring up this interesting fact. Pluto spent 27 years in Cancer. So that was from 1912 to 1939. That's when Pluto was in Cancer. During this time, World War I, a global flu pandemic, and the Great Depression happened during these years. Now, World War II started in 1939. That's when Pluto was at the final degrees of Cancer, just before he hopped into Leo. Now, Capricorn on the zodiac wheel, Capricorn opposes Cancer. So I do find it interesting that, so Pluto right now is at the late degrees of Capricorn, just like how Pluto was at the late degrees of Cancer. So you see what I'm getting at here. I'm not suggesting there's going to be a full-blown World War III, okay? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just looking at trends. That's all I'm doing. But there are tensions between countries right now. There's tensions within countries right now. The pandemic that, well, depending on where you are in the world, I'm in Canada and restrictions are finally starting to lift. I know other countries are wide open. So obviously some people are upset about it. Some people have their opinions about it, their strong opinions about it, right? So, and obviously the situation with Ukraine is heartbreaking. My love and my prayers go out to that country and to Europe, that peace can be found really soon. So I ask all of you to please keep them in your prayers and your thoughts. And I do hope that this will come to a close very soon. Okay. So I want to go through each sign and let you know where you might see some big transformative changes in at least one area of your life. Keep in mind, Pluto transits in the houses are so long that they could read very similar to how Pluto is in the houses natally. So these transits can become very, very ingrained in our bodies, in our structure, in our lives, in our personalities. Keep in mind, I'm using a whole house system. I use Western tropical astrology, so this is not going to resonate for everyone because, again, everyone's charts are different and house systems are different. So I always say take what resonates and leave the rest. Watch for your ascendant, your sun sign. You can watch for any other personal planets as well, like your moon, Venus, Mars, and you can even watch for your natal Pluto because it'll give you some flavors on where he is natally in your chart and some of the lessons you came here to learn. Now, if you don't have your birth chart, you can go to astro.com and the website will calculate your birth chart for free. And I just wanted to make a note, I am going to enter in some timestamps below because I feel like this will be a little bit of an extended video. Okay, starting with Aries. Aries, this is happening in your 10th house of career, reputation, public image, long-term goals. It's also the parental access, more so the male authority figure in your life, but it could also be the female as well. Now, Aries, your ambition is quite intense during this transit. Definitely the need or desire to find deep meaning with regards to your social standing or professional life becomes front and center for you. You want to just go, 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 Aries, when it comes to your career. There will likely be power struggles in your career with a male authority figure, could also be a female, or it could even be a parental figure in your life. You might attract negative attention from leaders or other professionals in your field who may be jealous of you, threatened by you in some way, or are trying to find flaws in the work that you do. Any situations or tests possibly are increased now will push you into the right path and challenge you to become stronger and more confident in your own talent, skills, and abilities. You might be changing jobs, or you might be changing your long-term professional goals, or you might continue along your current career path, but change your goals or day-to-day duties and responsibilities in some way. Some people might discover an inner need to grow and develop their current careers or businesses, discovering hopes, wishes, dreams that you never knew you had. Be aware of fears of underachieving bubbling up to the surface at this time, and it's time to find ways to finally heal them, Aries, and let them go. Also be aware of paranoia, extreme pressure, obviously in the working world realm, and controlling or manipulating behaviors. So do be aware of that. Be sure you find ways to decompress, de-stress. Don't hold all that tension in the body. Taurus, this is happening in your 9th house of higher education, teaching, long distance travel, ethics, beliefs, meeting people from different cultural backgrounds. So your belief system and general outlook on life will be transformed, Taurus. Some of the beliefs that you have carried to date might seem outdated or superficial in some way. Events and situations in your life will encourage you to adopt new perspectives, ideas, and visions, or to modify those that you've had in the past. You might meet people, go to places, or learn new things that alter your way of thinking during this transit. It's a great time for studying, diving into your hobbies, publishing, promoting, and sharing your ideas with a bigger audience. Watch out for being right all the time and for trying to convince other people to your way of seeing things during this transit. You'll likely have a life-altering experience from your long-distance travels or from your studies during this transit. You're likely to gain more maturity and wisdom as well. You might become more rigid in your opinions and your overall worldview. You might have a very powerful experience with the law, so do be mindful of that. You might experience tests of the spirit or tests of your physical body, such as strength sports or endurance sports, or challenging travel adventures where you put your body through those type of extremes. You might experience events that force you to look at the big picture, expanding your mind and obviously, wising up in that sense. Gemini, this is happening in your 8th house of rebirth, sex, transformation, taxes, debts, loans, joint finances, property, inheritance, and it's also the shadow. So Gemini, this is the house that Pluto rules. He functions very, very well in this house. So you could be drawn to the dark, the taboo, or the mysteries of life, which could lead you into very unusual circumstances. So just be mindful of that. Your thoughts towards depending on, relying on other people in your life during this transit could really transform. Because again, the 8th house is more about the other, not so much about you. Obviously, you're affected by it, but it's more so about the other. So I'm thinking finances, I'm thinking property or intimacy. Events that occur during this transit have the effect of completely altering your perspective on life in this area of your life. So I'm just going to use this as an example. So the death of a loved one, a death of an in-law, for example, or the death of a parent who, say, supported you emotionally, financially, and then now you're left to fend for yourself. Now, again, that's just an example. I'm not saying people are going to start dying around you, but that is an example of a possibility or a lesson learned in this transit. There might be issues surrounding shared resources, shared debt, shared support systems, such as government systems, shared experiences of death and rebirth, or birth can stir up very, very powerful feelings at this time and new perspectives on life. There can be financial changes that alter your life significantly. Now, this could be for better and this could be for worse. So I'm thinking divorce, loans, debts, mortgages, properties, homes, stuff like that. And again, they're likely related to a partner's money, a partner's income, some sort of combined resources or support systems like alimony or support that you get from the government or compensation or something like that. Sexual relationships can be complicated and very intense during this transit as well. You are fascinated yet fearful of deep intimacy. So of course, these are coming up to the surface, Gemini, for them to be acknowledged and healed in some way. Definitely work with a counselor when needed. Also, psychological issues might come to the surface as well. Shadow issues might come up. Projections, you projecting onto others, might come up at this time. Also be aware of control issues on your end, and power struggles with money might come up during this transit as well. And again, it'll be other people's money or issues surrounding other people's money. Cancer, this is happening in your 7th house of contracts, marriage, legal matters, business partnerships, relationships in general, basically any sort of other relationship that you have. It's the other house. So Cancer, more than likely there will be power struggles and drama when it comes to your personal relationships. And this can play out in different ways. So you might fear or resist a relationship and desire a relationship at the same time. This could be due to a fear of loss of control over your own life. You might be drawn to or attract people who are very intense, very jealous, very possessive. Or you could feel or perceive them as very powerful in some way. Now, on the flip side, your own resistance in relationships can actually bring out control issues in a partner, because that partner fears the loss of you or your disloyalty in some way. You might actually, I hate to say this, Cancer, but you might actually bring out other people's dark side. You know, you might actually bring out their demons by your relationship behavior. You might actually be the spark for other people to discover their more underlying feelings, impulses, fears surrounding relationships. You might feel trapped in a complicated relationship or have a difficult time finding a true, deep connection that you crave. So Cancer, Pluto is really showing you your personal power when it comes to relationships. And again, this is all types of relationships. So if you're not in a relationship or if you don't do relationships, it will likely play out in friendship circles, or it could play out at work as well. But obviously, it can come out in a love relationship as well. Watch out for manipulation. Try to come to terms with your own fears of possibly losing someone you love and fear of betrayal on your end. This could also play out as your life is transformed through a new connection, a new partnership, whether it's romantic, friendship, or in business. You are learning a lot about yourself through relationships, Cancer. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the dark. Now, keep in mind, Cancer, with Pluto transiting Capricorn, he would have or will have at some point opposing your sun, your moon, any planets that you have in Capricorn. So that's going to add another layer of transformation to the soul's expression, if it's the sun, for example, or the emotional body, if it's the moon, for example. Leo, this is happening in your 6th house of day-to-day work, your health, your fitness, your pets, your habits, the workplace, your responsibilities, day-to-day obligations. So Leos, huge transformation in your general day-to-day waking life. You will likely go through some changes, some challenges, or will be transformed in some way during this transit for sure, whether you own a business or whether you work for someone else. This is a fantastic time, Leo, to start that business. Now, if you do work for someone, you'll notice, if you haven't already, you have very limited patience for people bossing you around. Fears might come up at this time surrounding, am I doing a good job? Your mind might really race and become obsessive about this. So please watch out for this. Watch out for burnout. You can't please everyone, Leo, and your health should be a top priority. And if not, Pluto will show you this by bringing you to your knees more than once during this transit, if he has to. If you take care of the body, nothing to worry about. But if you don't, just be aware of this. You might want to focus on your health and self-improvement more during this transit, which is fantastic. Seek out alternative health care or other healing modalities during this transit. You might want to explore more about the mind-body connection. This is a great transit to get rid of those bad habits, those bad routines, Leo. However, this energy actually supports replacing one bad habit with another bad habit. So just be aware of that. Also, if you're really attached to your job or to your work, and you're clinging on to a job or a business that doesn't fit you, and you know it, Leo, like you can feel it, but you just keep plowing through. So if this doesn't fit your evolution, Pluto might take this away from you or transform it in some way. So just be aware of that. You'll want to turn to more natural remedies during this time versus putting toxins in the body. You're going to be more aware of that during this transit, Leo, which is a good thing. This is a great time to work with a practitioner on a detox if this resonates with you. All of the fixed signs, so that's Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus. All the fixed signs hold toxins in the body. So it's a fantastic time to do a detox at this time. Just do it with a healthcare practitioner. It's not a good time to just find something on the internet and taking a stab at it. No, like work with a healthcare practitioner or a naturopathic doctor so you can do it safely. Virgo, this is happening in your 5th house of children, love affairs, creativity, self-expression, drama, fertility, gambling. It's anything that you desire. So Virgo, you'll be experiencing a gradual but deep change in your attitudes towards basically this area of your life. And this is a very fun, light-hearted house. This is the Leo house. So with Pluto transiting here, everything might take on a little bit more of an intense, focused position. You won't be up for fluff and flings, for example, when it comes to relationships. You'll want a deep, passionate, meaningful relationship or connection with your lovers at this time or in relationships, period. If you're in a relationship, this might transform the relationship, or Pluto will show you what is no longer working for you, therefore ending a relationship or not. You know, Pluto also, if you're in a toxic relationship, Pluto will help you get rid of that as well. Now, if you're a parent, you'll find your relationship with your children, regardless of their age, will take on a more authentic and perhaps a serious tone, or finding new ways to celebrate what is authentically joyful and fun for you, which is fantastic. Do watch out for power struggles with your kids and in relationships and with your lovers. So do watch out for that. You're developing your creative talents and dreams that you never knew you had. and you're figuring out what motivates you, what moves you, and you can invest a lot of energy and enthusiasm, for example, into the creative arts, into building a new family, having a baby, or even romance, finding that new love relationship. This energy could also attract intense, controlling, or very passionate partners. Watch out for fears bubbling to the surface surrounding loss or betrayal in relationships or hobbies or any sort of creative endeavors or with children, or if you're trying to start a family or have children. Be mindful of jealous, obsessive, and controlling behaviors at this time. And this is a fantastic transit, Virgo, for turning a pastime or a hobby into a career. Libra, this is happening in your 4th house of family, home, roots. It's also the parental axis, more so the female end, but it can also be a male figure in your life as well. 4th house also rules self-care, property, the past, anything that grounds you, Libra. So life-altering events related to home, real estate, renovations, foreclosures, moving in with family, moving out of family homes, buying or selling property or moving homes is the themes here. Deep, deep, deep changes, Libra, in your home and family life and how you relate to family members. Now, you might really feel scattered, Libra, and this is a long transit, so I do feel for you, but you might have noticed, reflect back to 2008. How have you been feeling when it comes to your home and family? Have you been feeling unsettled? That's sort of the themes here. Your connection to family members can change on a very fundamental level, such as responsibilities, support, or even role reversals during this transit. You might want to withdraw into yourself during this transit as you discover on a very deep personal level your roots, any sort of childhood conditioning, repressed feelings or resentment, and feelings of your own personal security and safety. Now, if you have demons from your past, Libra, I really don't know who doesn't, but keep in mind this might be a time where some past demons come bubbling to the surface. And again, it's happening for a reason, because you have to acknowledge them, heal them, and let them go in some way, shape, or form. Be aware of repressed regrets, repressed anger, or dead-end circumstances that come up at this time. You'll want to obsess over things you can't or shouldn't control or be changed. So try not to focus on these thoughts or situations. I know it's easier said than done. This is a great time to work with a therapist or a counselor. Pluto is showing you that it is time to let go of some of your power when it comes to, again, your home, your foundation, your family. You could be holding on to something just way too tight, Libra, or you'll be jealous or possessive because you're trying to control everything around you. And by the end of this transit, you'll become a more confident person and you'll be able to go after exactly what you want. Scorpio, this is happening in your 3rd house of the mind, communications, transportation, siblings, cousins, neighbors, short distance travel. So Scorpio, big transformation to your mindset and your communication style during this transit. Any sort of personal activities or hobbies or studies or, siblings, cousins, neighbors, relatives, and short distance trips can hold very powerful experiences or lessons for you during this transit. Or they might impact your decision making and thinking more intensely during this transit. For example, bringing what is unspoken into the open for an open discussion. Diffusing a loaded issue by tossing it around out in the open in exchanges. And Scorpio, you will definitely twist it with some dark humor. It's a great time to pursue any dreams or beliefs that you have pushed to the side. You can be inspired to take creative risks as well as personal ones because you're developing a new confidence about you. It might take some time for you to fully feel comfortable with expressing yourself. Pluto can bring up issues or fears or paranoias or privacy issues or being secretive. You might not accept what you hear or read as fact or truth. You may want to learn through observation or study rather than learning directly from other people. You actually prefer to be self-taught during this transit. You might really choose your words more carefully during this transit, as you want to hold back from letting other people know too much about you, and that's totally fine and pretty normal during this transit. Okay, Sagittarius, this is happening in your second house of money, work, finances, income, your values, your material possessions, anything that belongs to you. So big transformations regarding how you value yourself and your earning power. So what does security mean to you will be tested and transformed during this transit. How you manage or mismanage your assets and money will likely be tested. You might experience some material loss during this transit, which teaches you about change and that your value, your worth, and your strength come from within, not from your material possessions. Now, on the flip side, you might want to detach, detox, purge from your possessions at this time. You'll want to build your resources during this transit. You might become very intense and focused on it. You might find it hard to let go of possessions during this transit. But again, you might not. You might want to purge and just live a very simple lifestyle, Sag, and I think that's totally fine. Keep in mind, if your possessions, money, whatever it is that you're holding on to too tight, if they're no longer suited for you, your life path, Pluto might take them away from you rather drastically. You might reap the rewards or the consequences of past life or current life handling of abundance, of money or prosperity or property. Fears surrounding poverty, insecurity, or control issues might come up during this transit, so just be aware of that. This is a great transit for discovering hidden talents and monetizing them. You'll actually have the ability to take advantage of really good deals of items of high value. So you can actually turn this into a career or a business of some sort, or an opportunity or an idea. Pluto will help you appreciate the simple things in life after this transit, and also how to express gratitude for what you have besides your material possessions. Capricorn, this is happening in your first house of the physical appearance, the ego, the identity, the body, your home, your attitude, your clothing, your style. So this is a period of self-empowerment, self-transformation. There is a new you developing, Capricorn, and you are greeting the world in a different, unique, authentic, true to you manner. You might literally transform your external image or your internal self. You have a very confident presence. The impression you are leaving is a very, very strong one, even if you don't feel it some days. You can be very protective of your privacy during this transit, and you might struggle with fears of being rejected, overpowered, or small, insignificant in some way. You might be more comfortable in taking new risks. You are more determined. You may be more defensive and intense at times, so you can get your back up really, really, really quick during this transit. If there's anyone or any circumstances that are holding you back from being authentically you, they will drop away during this transit. Any sort of superficial mannerisms or attitudes you encounter, you will no longer tolerate, or you'll find you won't be able to tolerate that type of behavior anymore. You'll want to control everything in your life during this transit, Capricorn, so watch out for that. Pluto is helping you look at your motivations by tapping into your conscious and unconscious mind, which can be difficult if your motivations are a little bit on the darker side. You'll learn you cannot control others during this transit. All you can do is control how you respond to the people or circumstances that you'll find yourself in. Tap into your inner power during this transit. Also, a fantastic time to do a detox under the supervision of a healthcare practitioner. And also keep in mind, Capricorn, Pluto would have at some point, depending on what you're watching for, conjuncted your ascendant, your moon, your sun sign, or any other planet. That is going to add another layer of transformation to you. So for example, if it was your sun, it's going to transform your soul's expression. Or if it's your moon, it's going to transform your home life or your emotional body in some way. Aquarius, this is happening in your 12th house of the unseen, healing, closures, karma, the subconscious mind, secrets. So Pluto is helping you to authenticate how you deal with endings, matters of the past, and your psyche. The unconscious becomes the conscious during this transit. This transit is also preparing you for when Pluto moves into your sign, Aquarius, in 2023 and then permanently in 2024 for 19-20 years. And this is going to begin a whole new cycle for you, Aquarius. You might want to focus on your spiritual or psychological growth during this time. You might be confronting deep, buried aspects of your psyche. You will likely encounter or learn strange things about your shadow side. And with this knowledge or power, you'll also learn how to control these things as well. And Aquarius, this is definitely not an easy nor a fast process. I mean, think back to 2008. That's how long Pluto has been transiting your 12th house. Be aware of situations that you've buried, such as past events, childhood events. You know, these things might bubble up to the surface at this time. And again, they require acknowledgement, healing, and letting go. Pluto is helping you face your demons and acknowledge them, heal them, work with them. This is a fantastic time to work with a therapist or a counselor. You might also notice you'll have really dark, strange, intense dreams during this transit. Again, that's because your psyche is going through a purge. It's going through a detox. So you're going to have these really wacky, strange, dark, sometimes very dark dreams. You may have some powerful or unexpected enemies during this transit, so do watch out for that. And synchronicity will occur under this transit, but thanks to Pluto, the synchronicity might be more intense and unusual. Pisces, this is happening in your 11th house of friends, groups, communities, your hopes, your wishes, your dreams. So Pisces, your friendship circles, your memberships, groups that you belong to, associations that you belong to, any sort of community relationships will go through some drastic, transformative changes and shifts during this transit. You'll be taking these relationships much more seriously now. There might be some drama, some intensity, some power struggles, and possibly some manipulating behaviors surrounding these groups or associations of people that you're attached to or that you're involved with. You'll likely see who your true friends are during this transit. You might, Pisces, have to deal with backstabbing or betrayals as well. Naturally, these people will fall away from your life, but Pisces, please, for God's sake, do not go back to them. You know, and if you do, you might find that push-pull mentality where this is just going to be a vicious cycle that you get yourself into. So just be mindful of that. Your hopes, your wishes, your dreams, your goals will likely shift dramatically, or they're going to be transformed or regenerated in some way. This is a great transit to lead, Pisces, a group or association, or become a manager or a leader in the work that you do. You won't want to follow the crowd during this transit. You'll want to make a difference in some way and put your unique stamp or spin on things. New people that you meet during this transit will have a great impact on how you think, on your outlook on life, and possibly even on your goals and aspirations. All right, so I hope this helped. I am curious to hear how this is playing out in your life right now. Like I mentioned, I understand we are on the end of this transit, but it's curious, or it's interesting to hear. I would love to hear your feedback. What's been going on? You know, what's been going on since 2008? In your life? What area of life has transformed for you? How have you transformed personally? So keep in mind, these are general readings, and I'm trying to keep these videos as short as possible. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your Pluto transit, and I'll see you back here very, very soon. Bye for now.